Hello everyone, today in this video I will talking about performance analysis of cloud computing based e-commerce server using Proxmox virtual environment. Before we begin, let me to introduce myself. My name is Farlan Lengkong. I am an informatics engineering student from Manado State Polytechnic. I hope that you can follow this presentation. Okay, introduction. This study aims to build a server by optimizing the computer's performance using the available resource on the computer according to its specifications. The trial in the study uses computer specifications that support machine virtualization. The result of this research is to build an e-commerce server for Coconut derived using virtual machine technology based on cloud computer using a Proxmox server. The trial in the study builds a cloud server by optimizing the performance of available computer devices. The next step is done on laboratory scale by simulating up to 750 users to get the version of the installed devices. The results show that the server can work well for access to 400 until 450 users. Methods and system design. Analysis, design and implementation. This stage is intended to retrieve, study and analyze the data obtained from direct observation on server devices to carry out the system design process and topology design. At this stage, an analysis of the server utility, use, scalability, and execution timing of an application running on a non-virtualized system is carried out with the same application running on a virtualized machine in the data center. The Proxmox virtual environment server uses version 7.2 with a server IP of 192.168.100.2. Then a virtual machine is installed with the Linux Ubuntu server operating system version 22.04. On the Linux Ubuntu server, install Nginx, MySQL and PHP. A router is set up so the Proxmox and virtual machine Ubuntu servers can access the internet. Routers are also used so that the public can access the Ubuntu server web server using VPN and port forwarding settings. The modem is used to provide internet access, which is set through the router. Users can access the web server by accessing the VPN address and the port forward to the web server. Okay, system requirements. As you can see, here's a system requirements tables. For the first, monitor, and second is processor, graphics, memory and storage with its specifications. The process of making cloud servers using Proxmox virtual environment, open source server management and Linux-based Proxmox virtual environment version 7.2 was used. Released on May 4, 2022. Proxmox virtual environment is installed on a computer with AMD Ryzen 3 processor. System requirements. As you can see, here's the system requirements table. There is a monitor, processor, graphics, memory and storage. The process of making cloud servers using Proxmox virtual environment, open resource servers management, and Linux-based Proxmox virtual environment version 7.2 was used, released on May 4, 2022. Proxmox VE is installed on a computer with AMD Ryzen 3 processors, 8 GB DDR4 RAM, and 520 GB SSD storage media. After installing Proxmox virtual environment, without making any changes, you can get an IP address of 192.168.100.2. To access Proxmox VE requires a computer that is connected and can communicate with one another. On a computer with a Windows or Linux operating system installed, we can create a web browser such as Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome and type IP address. If connected, I will be redirected to the login page of Proxmox virtual environment. After successfully logging in, we can create a virtual machine that can install various operating systems. In this experiment, we installed the Linux Ubuntu server 22.04 operating system, and the installation process was like installing a Linux. When the installation process is complete, you can configure the router. Okay, next, the router in question is setting the router so that it can connect from the one to the virtual machine so that the virtual machine can connect to the internet. The router use the MikroTik router board 750 type, where port 1 is a 1 with the DHCP network source. Port 2 is connected to the Proxmox virtual environment server, and port 3 is connected to a computer that will configure the Proxmox server and virtual machine. When successfully setting up the Proxmox virtual environment router and server, and the virtual machine can be connected to the internet, the software is installed on the Ubuntu virtual machine. Software installation include Nginx as the HTTP server and proxy, MySQL as a database, and PHP 8 as a compiler to run .php files. After installing the software, continue uploading the MSME e-commerce web file using an FTP client and importing a SQL database so that users can access the e-commerce web by typing the virtual machine IP on the Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome web browser so that they can access the e-commerce web. E-commerce and the web server has been successfully created so that the web servers cannot only be accessed locally. It is necessary to do public IP setting with a VPN tunnel, which is obtained for free from the web.tunnel.my.id website. After successfully setting OVPN tunnel, the author makes port forwarding setting on the menu firewall, then NAT where IP and local port forwarding is IP virtual machine with port 18 as HTTP default port. Okay, next. Result and discussion. As we can see, testing 250 users with its specification and table. There's a memory, CPU, disk, network in and network out. On the 7 past 6 p.m., 7 past 7 p.m., 7 past 8 p.m. Okay, from the test table, for access to 250 users, one user is experiencing a timeout. So the real test is only 249 users for a significant difference on the network side. So the specification of the hardware can still handle 250 users. For access to 500 users, there are two users experiencing timeouts. So the real test is only 498 users. For the significant difference is on the network side. For the CPU, there is an increases, but it's around 1.5% from when no one is accessing it. So for the hardware specification, it can still handle 500 users, and for access to 715 users, there are 162 users experiencing timeouts. So the real test is only for 400. The rest is not continued because it has reached its peak. For a significant difference is on the network side. For CPU, there is an increases, but it's around 1.5% from when no one is accessing it. So for the hardware specification, it can still handle 715 users, but the network has reached its peak. Conclusion. Based on the study results, it can be concluded that the cloud server will for e-commerce server for micro, small and medium enterprises using the Proxmox virtual machine can run well for up to 450 users based on the results of trial conducted for 700 network users. It has reached its peak, so it is not longer very effective for the many users. Acknowledgements. The author is grateful for the financial support from the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology so that this research can be carried out. And here's for references. Okay, thank you.